everybody, happy hybrid. Happy hybrid today. I did not do a video yesterday because I was on a phone conversation, and so I wanted to hop on today. I'm going to do a little hybrid episode. I'm going to do my Thursday video where I have some thoughts, which honestly I didn't really have any thoughts yesterday, to be honest. Nothing different than the norm anyway. And I also still want to stay in the vein of Vulnerable AF Friday, because I think that's the bigger takeaway aside from my thoughts, right? So this idea kind of all came to me this morning, whatever time it was that I woke up sort of from a dream, had a dream, woke up, and then, eventually went back to sleep. And so in this dream that I had, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of violence happening, and I had this dream, and when I woke up, it just made me feel very strongly in what I already feel, even though it was violent. And in this dream, it was really interesting the way that the dream played out, because it was like I was getting the news report or newscasting prior to witnessing the event, right? So probably sort of like the whole Charlie Kirk thing, right? Like where I heard about it through social media before I even really knew about it, right? Before it was being, the worst parts of it were being plastered all over the internet, which has never been done really before. Like, they always try to scrub that stuff and remove it, and so it's interesting. But in this dream, I'm just going to tell you the dream as it played out. So in this dream, right, I'm hearing a news broadcaster, and they're basically saying that there's a pew-pewer, because I don't want the internet to be mad at me, which is silly. It's so silly I can't even say a shooter. That's silly. So there was one of those, and they were talking about how somebody was protected by an inflatable structure, okay? And so then it flips to the incident in my dream, where there's a woman, and it's a white woman, and the race really doesn't matter, but I'm just, because it was in the dream, I'm letting you know, right? So it was a white woman. She was super fit, whatever. There was a little bit of a heavy-set black man who would just cross it. It's like a race, right? On the races, they have those big inflatable arches, at the finish line or whatever. So it's one of those, and it was a blue arch, and he had just finished the race, and he's a little bit heavy set black man. He had just finished the race. He collapses starfish style on the ground, and this white woman is walking up and kind of congratulating him, and they're chee laughing, and he's just exhausted and wiped but proud of himself and whatever. And the next thing you know, you see her go down, and he quickly realizes she's been shot, and he freaks out, and so she's kind of falling across him, and he freaks out, and he's shoving her off his body, okay? And you can see her trying to get up after he's kind of shoved her off his body, but she can't, and he makes a run for it towards the arch. And there's a little flap or a doorway or something in this inflatable arch, and he goes inside, and you don't hear the fire happen, right? You don't hear the bullet being launched, but you see she goes down, right? And then there's this arch, and he runs inside or near it or whatever, and another shot is clearly taken, because you see the whole structure start to collapse because it's been pierced, right? And then it jumped to some other things that are not really important, because I woke up like shortly after that. Like, I felt like that was the main takeaway. Like, there was another little part where, you know, dreams are kind of weird. Like, they're related, but they're also sometimes not related. Like, it can be a same situation, but like now maybe in the dream I've jumped to some fast food drive-through, or I've jumped through some kind of a whatever, where I'm in a place where you would pick up an order at a window, and, you know, someone in a vehicle has also been a victim, basically, that's at the drive-through or whatever, right? Like, so, and then I woke up, right? And you would think, right? You would think that waking up from a dream like that you would be like, oh my God, guns are bad, and I need to protest against guns, and I need to, you know what I mean? We need to, and what I meant to Google before I even did this video, I need to Google this. This is something I'm going to Google. Feel free to Google it yourself. Investigate it. How did the UK end up surrendering all of their weapons? How did that happen? I mean, I don't recall hearing a lot about, like, you know, mass shootings over there, or frequent violent outbursts over there necessarily. So how did they come to be disarmed, right? And my thing when I woke up from my dream wasn't, oh, guns are bad and we need to get rid of them. That was not, I know you probably think that should be, but that was not. But what came to me was like, whether all of these violent outbursts are orchestrated intentionally, as in someone's like a patsy, or someone's a plant, or someone's an MK Ultra, whatever, okay, whatever the case may be, or whether it's those who are sort of in power. And when I say those in power, I don't even mean the people that we've allegedly elected. I mean the secret societies that run behind the shadows of all of that. And if you don't think that's a real thing, you really need to get educated before you come out here rah, go team, whatever it is that you're about. Because that's what they want. They want the division. They want us to hate each other. They want us to view each other as the enemy, even though we are much more in step with one another than they'd like us to believe. We have the same fights. We have the same desires. We have the same goals and aspirations, but they want us to not see that. And why is that? Right? And so immediately out of this dream, this is where my brain's going while I'm trying to fall back asleep, okay? And I'm like, okay, so all these things that are taking place, like, I think I just heard about another situation the other day, and you know what I mean? Like, here where I live, there's bodies just washing up in bayous, like, but I haven't really heard anything about it. As much as I'm true crime and I know about things that are happening around the United States, how come I haven't really heard anything about this? Like, I don't know of any details that have been released. And I mean, I'm not going to the news channels, so I don't watch news, because it's propaganda. And I don't want to be, I want to be a free thinker. And that's why I'm kind of merging yesterday and today. And Thursdays are going to be Free Thought Thursday. I've decided. Free Thought Thursday. We're going to focus on some critical fucking thinking. Okay? We're going to really think about shit. Not from our feelings, but from what's the desired outcome. Okay? If A plus B equals C, and A is make them hate each other, plus B, arm them, and so, like, why are we're seeing this uptick in violence, and we think the problem is the weapon. But what if it's the human that's being weaponized? Why does nobody, and we're being weaponized through the fact that there is rampant mental illness, and maybe in some cases it is planned and it is staged, and they put it under the guise of mental illness, but there's not really mental illness. But maybe also there is, right? So you find some trained military person that comes back, you know what I mean? They don't get the credit they're due when they come back from serving overseas or wherever it is that they go, and they're trained to kill and they're trained to whatever. I mean, they end up on the street over here. What a hero's welcome. Like there's so much wrong in our society that the last thing we need to do is be at each other's throats and be putting our feet on other people's throats. You know what I mean? Like, we have to start coming together as communities. And I feel like part of the reason that all of this uptick in violence is happening is because it's the best way to convince somebody that we should be disarmed. And I'm just not buying it. Because you know what? That's not the only way to hurt people. And here's the thing, right? I'm going to go back to the UK. They can't even have freedom of speech over there anymore. I don't know if y'all know, but they don't even have free speech over there anymore. They can't even say anything online without the Facebook police coming and arresting them, or coming and taking their phones, or coming and whatever, charging them with stupid shit. But you know what? I bet if they were armed, that shit wouldn't be happening. I bet you if they were armed, they wouldn't be. I saw a clip the other day, a reel of 2 young British female police officers going to some, I don't know the full story, I just saw a little clip, but I remember feeling like that's really weird. And they came and they're like, well, she made some comment online and now we have to seize her phone as evidence. And if you don't give us the phone, like, we're gonna arrest people or whatever. It's wild. But I bet you if they were all still armed, that shit wouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I potentially had the makings of someone that would be like full liberal mindset all their life because of the atrocities that I went through, the atrocities that I've experienced. You know what I mean? The abuse that I've suffered from the hands of the people that should be nearest and dearest to me. You know what I mean? And because of that, and my victimization and the victimhood that I was in, I was overly empathetic. You know what I mean? Like, I would overly empathize, and I would want this justice, this idea of justice for people that seemed like they were being slighted, very much like the people who are out here saying, I'm an ally for this, and I'm an ally for that, and I believe in this, and you know what I mean? There's all these people out here in this country trying to fight for the harms that are befalling other countries that we really have no power, control, or say over. But we do have power, control, and say here. We do have power, control, and say over our communities to a degree. Much more than we give ourselves credit for. But because we don't want to have to do the real actual work of correcting a long-standing systemic problem, we rah, cheer, chant, go team for something that we're completely removed from, so that at the end of the day, we can pat ourselves on the back and feel like we're a good fucking person. Been there, done that, got the sticker, got the t-shirt, and then realized this is some bullshit. This is what I need to be working on. This is what I need to be fixing. This is what I need to be championing. This is what I need to be an ally for. Fixing me. And hopefully fixing my relationships, right? Even with those that I have a very straight relationship with, nothing would make me happier, honestly, than to be able to have relationships with the people that I feel like I can't have relationships with. Nobody wants to go through life feeling this fucking lonely. Feeling like they really have nobody to rely on without it being some kind of bullshit. You know, almost a headache to have somebody to rely on. And I don't say that to be mean, but I'm just being honest. Like, it's hard sometimes to have relationships, and I think a lot of it is me, right? I do think a lot of it is me. I don't think really it's all them, right? A lot of it is me and the conditioning that I've experienced and the way that my brain has been harmed and injured in my upbringing because of my PTSD and my trauma, right? So I say all this dream that I had, and my brain starts thinking like they want this violence, and they definitely want the gun violence, because the more gun violence there is, the higher their argument for we need to just surrender our arms. And if we can't dismantle and change the constitutions and bills of rights and all the things that we have that really truly are meant to govern this country, then we'll find a way to do it by force. And the best force is when they make you think like it's your idea. When they make you think you came up with it. When they make you think, do you know what I mean? Like, it's sneaky like that. This is why I want to do Woo Woo Wednesday, because it's sneaky like that. But I just don't have time right now to do research for Woo Woo Wednesday. But we should all, I'm going to give you all some homework, myself included. I'm going to figure out how and why the UK gave up all of their arms. Because that's the thing. And can our weapons really truly stop the things they've been developing for years? The things we probably don't even know about yet? No, but it's a start. You know what I mean? That little bit, like, that's the kind of line that really protects the common man. I don't know if y'all realize that. While you're out here with your bleeding hearts, do I feel bad for lives that are lost? Yes. But you're not blaming the actual problem, you're blaming the tool. You're not trying to fix the problem, you're trying to take away a tool. That doesn't fix the problem. And let me prove to you how it doesn't fix the problem. Because I've already done a video about this, and I'm not going to keep doing videos about this situation, about like gun control and all that. Like, I'm not going to keep going out here and like beating a dead horse about how I believe that people should have the right to be armed. You don't have to like it or agree with it. That's perfectly fine. But people should have the right to be armed. It's part of what this country stands on. Because the reason that even exists is because we were being taken advantage of as a people, as a populace, and being shit all over. Like, that's why that's even there, to prevent being shit all over from happening again. Okay, to put it in layman's terms, for those of you who don't want to go out and get educated and actually know some things. And I'm not even sitting here as somebody, I have a lot of my own learning to do. But where do you find the time, right? In day-to-day life, like, I'm here commuting, 30-40 minute commute every day, twice a day, there and back, spending 8 hours away from home, trying to live, basically still paycheck to paycheck, even though I make okay money. I've leveled up my life, and I'm continuing to do so, right? So it's like you have to understand, it's all part of the trap. It's all part of it. To keep you away from your highest, greatest potential. And I know this probably sounds crazy and it doesn't really mesh or meld, whatever. But I'm telling you, okay? I had that dream, and this is what the fuck has come out of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, guns are bad. No. They want you to think guns are bad. Why do they want you to think guns are bad? Because they want an unarmed populace. And how many conspiracy theories are coming true now? I saw a thing the other day. It was like an official Facebook type post. I forget who it was by, but it had like all the like legal jargon and the, you know, whatever, talking about how the jab has created a higher risk of cancer. But all people like me that didn't want to get on board and didn't want to do it, we're the bad guy. And you know why we're the bad guy and why we're okay with being the bad guy? Because a lot of us know what the fuck it means to even have freedom. Or maybe in my case, to not have freedom. Okay? And this is where we're going to kind of get into the vulnerable AF part. Okay? So all of that, you know, we are less of a threat if we're unarmed. We're easier to control and manipulate if we're unarmed. And then once we become unarmed, and I think about this too, like, because this is something else that's coming up in my mind, right? We're over here being governed by people that aren't even governances. Okay, why is the World Economic Forum out here with Klaus Schwab or whatever being like, they will own nothing and be happy? And maybe that's true, because, you know, materialistic shit is just materialistic shit. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make you who you are. What you own, what you possess, does not make you who you are. It can be nice to have things, but it does not make you who you are. You are who you are, and you can change that to some degree, but still, your possessions don't make you. Like, you're not. You can be viewed as successful because you have a whatever fancy car or whatever. You know what I mean? but there are people that are equally successful to drive a fucking Toyota Camry. You know what I mean? So why are people like that in these forums having so much say and sway? That's what I'm saying. Like, y'all are falling into the trap. Y'all really are falling into the trap. And as someone who grew up in a home, okay, unless you've really truly actually had some form of oppression, okay, and that's not reserved for people that have been slaves, and that's not reserved for people that have, you know what I mean? Because newsflash, if I haven't said it before, there is no race under the sun that at some point in human history has not been a slave. No race under the sun in human history that has not been a slave. All right, I want you to just sit with that, okay, while we're out here having all these stupid arguments about race. Bro, I saw, speaking of race, okay, I have to say this. I saw a news thing, and I'm like, I don't watch the news, but it comes across on my feed, right? Sometimes, and that's the thing, so I'm getting news from everywhere throughout Texas, but hardly any information about this bio situation. Like, literally, like, a dozen plus bodies have been found over the span of like a year or whatever. Thanks for the signal, appreciate you. They didn't use their blinker and I had to kind of, you know, whatever. Anyway, so this mom, I think it's somewhere in Texas. It might not even be in Texas. I don't know. It was cake. I don't remember. It was a like a number 7 or something. There's just not a channel or station out here. Like we have like 1126, you know, stuff like that. So like our Fox is 26 and like KHOU is like 11, right? So this woman is like accusing a teacher of being racist because she happens to be black, and they sang the Zoo birthday song, right? Which is something we used to sing all the time when we were little on birthdays. Like, it's just a funny way to like tease somebody, and nobody was ever malicious about it. No child I was ever like, oh, this is a racial thing or whatever. But it's like, you look like a monkey and you smell like one too, right? Happy birthday to you. You live in a zoo. You look like a monkey and you smell like one too. Like, we sing that all the time to our white friends, to whoever. It didn't matter. Like, y'all trying to keep this divide alive. Like, we're trying to like be like, it don't matter, but y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all want to keep. In Houston, it don't matter. I'm not going to say that there aren't racist people, but for the most part, I think the majority of society has evolved past that. And for the most part, I think the majority of humanity is good. Okay? And I will hold that hope until I die. Because here's what I'm saying, right? The reason that I'm saying I'm not going to speak on this any further, the whole like gun control, like this is my final stamp on it. And if I speak on it again, I mean, it is what it is, but I don't plan to make it a point to be out here like advocating for keeping weapons, right? Like I'm not trying to like necessarily advocate for that. Okay, just because I believe that, I'm not trying to be out here being an activist for anti-gun control or something like that, right? But I grew up pretty sheltered, you know what I mean? And I don't think that it's necessarily entirely as bad as I thought, right? When I was young, I felt so separate, and I think that might have been, what are we doing here? I think that might have been for the best in the long run, right? Like, now that time has passed, what are we doing here? I'm about to follow suit. Like, y'all really doing the most with the least out here. Ugh, potholes. So, like, I mean, when I say like some level of oppression, right? So, like, my life was pretty much like this, okay? I didn't get to go hang out with friends. I didn't get to talk on the phone. I didn't get to watch TV, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing now, but at the time, I felt very left out, you know, of being a child and a teenager and all that, right? I didn't get to go hang out with friends. I wasn't making good grades, so I was always fucking grounded anyway. You know what I mean? And like, it got to the point that like I was told like what to wear and how to wear it and what to eat and how to eat it and Like, everything was sort of dictated for me. And there was really no real room for independent thought or expression. Okay? And I know that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but when you're dealing with that on top of walking on eggshells, and any little thing can send somebody into a very violent, onslaught, right? Like that's a mental health issue. That's a mental health issue. Okay? People that get so angry they can't control themselves, that's a mental health issue. And here's how I know that all the violence that happens to be with a pew-pew is not going to stop the violence, even if you remove every fucking gun under the sun. Because in October 2017, I was still very much feeling the loss of my aunt, who I view more as a mom to me. She passed away August 2017, so October is not that far away. I was really struggling with her loss. I wasn't paying attention to the world and what was going on. But apparently in New York City, and I learned about this through a YouTube that I was watching yesterday, this woman was talking about how she was kind of like a nanny, and she was like in charge of this family, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing because I was busy. Some of my job requires that I pay attention to other things and not just, listen to podcasts and stuff while I'm doing the mundane parts of my job that require little to no thinking. But she was talking about this attack that happened in New York in October on Halloween 2017. And I don't recall hearing about it before, but again, I was in my own haze of sorrow. So it would make sense that I wouldn't know about it, because I do remember in November I made a plan to go out of town, and it was my first Thanksgiving without my aunt, and I was like, I just want to get the fuck out of here, you know what I mean? So I was going through my own shit, so I wasn't paying attention to the shit that's going on in the world, but I looked into it yesterday. After it came up, and this man allegedly was a terrorist, and allegedly he was doing this act so that he could be accepted into ISIS, allegedly, okay? And he had no real gun on him, according to the reports. Like, he had guns, but they were fake guns. Why you would bring fake guns to a real gunfight, I don't know. Why you would aim them, and even then, like, I'm like, I don't know if I trust that. I don't know if I believe that. Like, my susso-meter is like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? And, so yeah, I didn't know about that. I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I don't know why they would lie about that, but also, I saw the video of kind of like the shootout. But anyway, he took a truck, and I don't know if there was like actually bombs in it. I think there might have been bombs in it. I didn't dig deeply into the story. I kind of skimmed it, okay, just kind of somewhat familiarize myself and see if it jogged a memory, which it did not, because again, I was in my own little fucking pocket of sadness, okay? And so he drove a truck into cyclists and killed 8 people. This was in 2017. And rented a truck from Home Depot. It was a rental truck from Home Depot. And he drove it into cyclists, and I think there was a bomb, because I think they said there was like a loud bang. So I think like it was like maybe rigged with a bomb. I don't know. But like 8 people died, and some people were injured, and you know what I mean? So they want the terror to win by inciting violence. And I'm not saying that we should be numb to violence, or that, you know what I mean? But it's like when you let that control your decisions, they're essentially succeeding in their endeavor. You know, it's like when you're dealing with children and they're fighting with each other and they're bickering, and you're like, just ignore them. And as a child, you remember, you don't even know what ignore means. You don't know how to do it. It's like you can't even ignore it. Like in your brain, Like, I remember the times when I was young and I would be like, just ignore it, or I'd be told to ignore something, and there would be that sense, and maybe that's where that little sense comes from that I was talking about earlier, like needing that sense of justice that I never felt like I got, right? So it's that little kid justice that doesn't really understand the world, right? And that's the over empathy that I was talking about earlier. And so they don't understand, right? They don't even know what that means. They don't even like it's almost like they resent you for telling them that they should ignore it because they don't know how to ignore it, you know. But what I try to influence on children is that is the upper hand, that is the strength, that is the power in the situation, right? That is the power in the situation, is to choose ignore. No response is a response, and that's often the power move. That's the checkmate. And if you can get them to learn that, they're better off for it. I'm like, they're irritating you, and the more you get upset, the more they dig in, because they're like, this is amusing to me. I'm killing my boredom. I'm whatever, right? Like, they're enjoying it. They're getting some enjoyment out of it because you're having a reaction. And I always try to get kids to understand that, like, look, if you just ignore them, I know it seems impossible what I'm asking, but just go do something else. No, and I'll demonstrate too. I'll be like, you see how I just ignored that? Did you see how I just did that? That's what you have to do. You see how it quit? That's what you have to do. So I'm not saying we can just ignore the world's problems and they're going to magically go away. What I'm saying is we can't overly identify with these situations and go all in emotionally and completely remove logic from it. Because y'all are creeping closer and closer to this whole World Economic Forum catastrophe of own nothing and be happy. Because y'all are in your feelings. Does it suck that people die unnecessarily? 100%. 100%. You'll never hear me be like, oh, well, that's life, even though that kind of is, unfortunately, the life. And if you want those things to change, if you want that kind of stuff to change, you have to be willing to be more of a participant in your community and less of a virtue signaler online, which is why I don't like virtue signalers, because they don't really do anything but create static and then pat themselves on the back for thinking, I changed my fucking profile picture to some kind of ally symbol. Fuck out of here with that. Make real change. Like, y'all out here doing the least and acting the most. Okay? And as a person who knows what it's like to have your life so decided for you that you have, like, decision paralysis as an adult, which I've had to fucking work on. Like, you don't know how many times I've, like, been faced with a decision and I'm like back and forth, and then I'll argue a really good point for option A, and then I'll be like, yeah, but well, you know, what about if option B goes this way, or whatever. Like, you have no idea. That comes from a lack of freedom. That comes from a lack of independence and identity. And all you people out here crying on the internet with your pink and green purple hair and fucking dudes wearing makeup and chicks wearing beards, like, I don't care. Do what the fuck you want with your life. But the fact that you can get the fuck online and do that and be that shows how much you're not oppressed. Okay? Life is scary for fucking everybody. Okay? According to the internet, I could die from being white. I could be stabbed to death on a train for being white by some person who's mentally, and I looked a little more into that situation about that girl that was stabbed on that train, and the sister had made a comment, like she had spoken to like a news outlet or something, and was like, yeah, he was like, you know, that's not me, and you know, they're controlling me, and the things they put in my head and whatever. So like, obviously he's like schizophrenic or something, right? So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, y'all think the problem is the tool, and that's not. The tool is not the problem. A tool is just a means, the ends to the means, the way to get the thing done. Okay, the problem is the problem, and that's what y'all want to skate around and pretend like And even then, like, honestly, I don't know how much we can fix the mental health problem in this world. Because we're in a society that wants us fucking sick. Hello, hate to tell you, we're in a society that wants us sick. So, I'm about to wrap this up though. I don't really feel like I got the vulnerable part out, but I just needed to say some things. I needed Free Thought Thursday to reign over Vulnerable AF Friday today, because I had this dream that, which A, it's fucked up I'm having dreams like that, let's be honest, and B, I just don't buy the narrative that we should all suddenly be disarmed, because there are some people with mental health problems, and there's some people with so much hate in their heart, real or imagined. You know, like, you're not going to fix the world by taking away a person's right to defense. Imagine in all these scenarios if there had been someone else who was strapped. You know, when shit like that tries to happen in Texas and there's somebody that's strapped, it goes a whole lot differently real quick. So I just want to say, on behalf of my dream, you're welcome, not welcome. And if you can't stand nobody fuck else today, please stand yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be understanding with yourself. You're the only you out there. I promise you have a gift to share. And it's not out here being a puppet for whatever hidden world agendas are running shenanigans and running amok and whatever. You want a better world, you have to choose to be a better person. And being a better person is not necessarily, well, I changed my profile picture today to an ally's icon or an ally whatever. That's not how you be a better person. I hate to tell you. Oh, there's starving children, so I changed it to a starving child. Or, oh, there's a war over here, so I changed it to a Ukraine flag. Almost said flag. Like, that's not the answer. That's you pretending you're doing something so that you don't have to feel so bad about the bad in the world. But the bad in the world is going to be the bad in the world no matter what you do. So wouldn't you feel better if you tried to actually actively be the antidote to the bad in the world by being a part of your community, by making sure you're the best you that you can be? Because if the world was such a great, happy place, if there was not a need for me to make these videos, or should I say, because the world is not a very happy place, I wouldn't need to make these videos. I only make these videos because I'm evidence that things aren't right. Things aren't right. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I had my awakening moment where I'm like, bro, this path ain't it. Like, me being out here feeling like the world owes me something ain't it. It ain't cutting the mustard. Something's got to change. And I'm so grateful that I had that moment where I not only question things enough to question a change, but to, like, accept the change, to be like, yeah, I do need to make some things different. I need to live differently for myself so that I can show up positively for others. So, again, be better. Be better than you were yesterday. Be better than the people that want to see you be less. Because that's where our power really is. When we can like ourselves and come together with other people, that's when we're dangerous. That's when we're dangerous to the people that want to see us tear ourselves apart. Be strong. Take care.